It doesn't take but a few of these images for you to know exactly what's going on. Another wildfire threatening life and property, doing unbelievable damage, leaving your treasures and precious memories in ruin. And you want to know the irony? It could have all been prevented. Hello, my name is Reaves, and I represent Black River Land and Timber Company of Alkaloo. And I want to talk with you on a topic today that people either don't want to talk about or they don't want to think about. And I assure you it can wreak havoc on you and your property, and it can do damage in unimaginable ways. The outcome to your property can be devastating and life-threatening as well. If not stopped, in a matter of minutes, it can rob you of what you have worked so hard for all your life, possibly your entire life. Your memories are at the mercy of the fickle winds, the temperatures, and the ever-changing humidities, which can leave your ancestral lands and property in a smoldering rubble. And what's worse, it has no conscience. It will take your life and that of your loved ones as quick as it will lay claim to your treasured property. This beast is called a wildfire, and it has plagued us since the dawn of time. Now, don't misunderstand, God gave us this as a great management tool, but if we don't use it safely and effectively, kept unchecked, it can have devastating effects. While tragic as these images of destruction and despair are, they all have one thing in common: an out-of-control fire consuming available fuels. These available fuels comes in the form of dead, diseased, and damaged trees, falling needle and leaf matter, a multi-year succession, and anything that will ignite since the last burn that you had on this property. Out-of-control fire, once it builds heat, starts to consume all the available fuels, and with the right heat pattern, it not only consumes the debris, refuse, and undesirable vegetation, but it starts to damage your landscape and your merchantable timber, affecting your pocketbook and your bottom line. For a minute, let's switch gears and let's talk about the economic impact of the South Carolina forest. Let's talk about it you individually and how it affects us industry-wide. So let's discuss the overall economic impact of forestry in the state of South Carolina. South Carolina forestry is a $21 billion industry. South Carolina timber sales last year delivered a price of $1.1 billion. That equals to $220 for each man, woman, and child in the state. We export over $1.3 billion in forest products every year. Also, in addition to those staggering statistics, and for those that think we're going to overharvest our forests and woodlands, South Carolina forests now contain 26.6 billion cubic feet of fine Palmetto State wood, more than at any other time in the past century. And South Carolina forest, both hardwood and softwood, are growing more wood than is even being harvested. Now let's look at some forest land statistics in South Carolina. South Carolina has an 18 million acre footprint in size. 67% of South Carolina is forest land, equating to about 13 million acres. 88% of forests are privately owned, and 63% of that 88% are family owned. South Carolina forests provide carbon sequestration, wildlife habitat, recreation, and are the essential for our economy, quality of life, and environment. Now that we've seen these amazing statistics, let's introduce wildfire into the equation and observe the impact that it has on the forest in the state of South Carolina. Look at this slide and notice the equation you see there. For the sake of this conversation, let's say you have 1 acre of land and it has been assessed that it has 75 tons of timber on it. That's about 3 log truck loads. It was further assessed that the value of timber was $10 a ton. So that acre has a timber value of $750. Using those same values, let's expand it to 10 acres and to 100 acres. 10 acres would have a worth of $7,500 and 100 acres, $75,000. Quite a nice sum of money. money that you could be planning to use at some point in the future, like money in the bank. Unfortunately, a dry winter wind from a fast-moving cold front had other ideas. In a matter of minutes, your nest egg was no more than a memory, $75,000 up in smoke. As you can see from the following slide, the cost of wildfire can be staggering. In South Carolina alone, we average somewhere around 1,620 fires a year and burn approximately 11,488 acres. So that you can get a true perspective of the enormity of the destruction we suffer on average in our state, take the previous financial status we discussed and multiply the number of acres we lose each year. That equates to losses over $8,600,000. So very sad. Not only do we lose millions of timber dollars each year, but we lose, say in fiscal year 2017, 27 homes were destroyed, 24 homes were only damaged, 71 other buildings destroyed, outbuildings I assume, and 33 other buildings were damaged. Can you believe how fast the losses add up? I didn't until I did my research. So now you're thinking, what can I do to be proactive? Well, 3 ways actually. Fire lines, fire lines, fire lines. Some of you may know what fire lines are, but for those of you that don't, let me explain the ecology of fire and how it survives. Look at this triangle and its legs of support. A fire has to have all of these components to exist. Take away one and the fire dies. So because these legs consist of heat, oxygen, and fuel, we take away the fuels or separate them and the fire runs out of something to burn and therefore dies. The other 2 components, when the fire is raging, are too difficult to remove. So fuel reduction is the safest and most effective way to fight a wildfire. The next images you'll see are bulldozers and are examples of constructing fire lines. The difference is the first one is proactive and the second one is reactive. As you can quickly see, being proactive is a much better approach and saves you money and heartache. The losses can be catastrophic if you're always only reactive. Always remember, strategically planned fire lines are the best defense. Controlled burning, or prescribed fire, is a strategy whereby intentionally setting fire to the available fuels in a defined area or location, and it is surrounded by fire lines, and is used to get rid of the threat of wildfire, at least until next fall or winter when the available fuels are present again. Always remember, good planning can be the difference between a thriving forest and acres of burnt stems. In closing, our forests and woodlands play a major role in our economics, recreation, wildlife, and timber production, our overall quality of life in our beloved Palmetto State. The difference between a thriving forest and smoldering acres of burnt stem and ash may be as simple as having a forest professional advise and implement a woodland fire protection plan for you on your property. Our only pre-suppression strategy, and done correctly and maintained, can be extremely successful and impactful for a long, long time. Are you protected? Have you done everything you can to protect your property and those around you? Remember, there are a lot of people, places, and things counting on you to do your part to stop the threat of wildfire. Choose wisely, as if your life depends upon it.